Welcome to EDT540. I am Professor Miller. A little bit about me. I went through the educational technology program here for my master's degree. That was close to 10 years ago now. I actually honestly can't remember what year I finished the degree. And then turned around and they hired me in to do adjunct work for a few years after I finished. And I took a few years break, and then last year, Dr. Sponder, who was one of the two main professors in the department, retired mid-year, and they contacted me and asked if I was interested in coming back. And it was better than working at Home Depot because it pays better and the hours are shorter, and it's what I actually do, so that's an advantage all around. So I'm back here now, mainly working with master's classes in the Ed Tech master's program. But Dr. Bed asked me if I was interested in taking this class on as well, and I said, yeah, it sounds like fun. So, so that's where I am. If you didn't hear as you're coming in, I am a music teacher in Region 10 at Lewis Mills High School. I just completed my 20th year there, so I got called up on the stage at the opening convocation to recognize 20-year teachers. Throughout it all, even being a music teacher, technology has always been a big part of what I do. So even at my school, the classes that I teach right now are an electronic music class, a recording technology class. I have a background in theater, technical theater as well. For about 10 years, I was at the Hartford Stage Company as the lighting and sound supervisor. So in terms of using technology, and particularly in production sorts of settings, it's been a big part of my background and where I've come from and what I do. So that's sort of what brings me here. I will be talking a lot more tonight about this class in specific and what we're going to be covering in it. But before we go further, I would also like to learn some about you guys as well. So maybe we'll start by just doing a typical go around the room. Who are you? If you're teaching currently, where are you teaching? What do you teach? Maybe if you've got like an interesting fact from your summer or something that is a particular interest of yours or anything like that, feel free to share that as well. And then I've got a quick little sort of icebreaker thing too that I want to do with you guys. So we always start with people in the front and go around the room. Is there anyone not in the front who would like to start us off?
I'll go. Sure.
Awesome.
I'm Rachel Cunningham. This is my second year. I'm starting my second year teaching first grade at Smalley Elementary in New Britain. It's like 3 minutes down the road. I graduated from Central in 2018 with my bachelor's in elementary education. This is my second class in the master's program. I took the research class over the summer. And a fun fact from the summer, I had hip surgery over the summer, the day after our research class ended. So that was my fun summer.
Woohoo!
I know,
What a blast. What a great way to spend a summer.
So, yeah.
All right. Who wants to go next? We're going to go random. We're not even going to go around the circle. Come on, someone.
All right, I'll go.
All right.
Nick Brazawi. I'm currently teaching 6th, 7th, and 8th grade science at East Hartford Middle School on a disciplinary intervention team. We've only had the kids for 2 days, but it's been wicked fun so far. They're an interesting bunch, to say the least. Thankfully, it's a small group. I only have 31 kids this year, which is nice. Fun fact for the summer, I bought a boat this year. So me and my son basically like ceased to exist for like 6 weeks and came back super tan, and my wife was like, where the hell you been? I was like, don't worry about it, there's fish in the freezer, it'll be fine.
What I almost hate to ask, what basic specs on the boat?
21-foot center console. Nothing super fancy.
Yeah,
just enough to go get our feet wet. It's good time.
I have a love of boats and the water. We owned for a few years a 46-foot flybridge sedan wooden boat. It was a 1966 Pacemaker sedan, which is it was a wooden boat. It had twin
Pacemakers are nice.
It had a twin 427 big block V8s in it. So the thing ate gas like crazy. But I'm actually looking at maybe getting just a small boat that I can trailer in and out of the water now.
It doesn't suck. I highly recommend
Oh
it.
yeah, I've been looking. Like the Facebook Marketplace, like knows what I'm looking for and keeps now giving me notifications of like, hey, someone else is selling something. So awesome. All right, who's next?
I'm JD Morona. Right now I'm coaching basketball, almost full time. Instead of teaching, I wasn't telling for 5 years. I got ripped and kind of resigned at the same time. Because I think I told them the room made me really sick because the building's terrible. They filmed a horror movie there. There's blood stains on my wall and stuff. It's called My Soul to Take. Wes Craven directed it. It's terrible, but it's really fun. It's like unbelievably bad, and it was made in my classroom.
Oh, nice. That's a claim to fame,
So
I
I'm
guess.
coaching now, and I'm here full time, trying to get my master's done by the spring.
Okay, awesome. All right, we're getting down to final few.
My name is Stephanie. I teach in Harvard. I actually teach pre-K. I love the little ones. And tomorrow's my last day because I got a job with Jumpstart, a nonprofit organization. And I'll be coming into the colleges that have preschools around Hartford and helping the college kids do what I do now.
Awesome. Fun fact about.
Fun fact about me, I have a 3-year-old at home, and we hung out for all of the summer, and we did anything and everything that she wanted to do. And it was nice. It was my first summer off in a really long time.
Nice. I have one daughter who's 12, going on 27. She's an 8th grader this year, so she's just about to make that transition to, and she'll be at my school next year, which will be extra interesting to see. I try to meet her the first day of school because I can't be there when she gets on the bus in the morning. I try to meet the bus when it gets to the middle school. And the first year she totally pulled one of these, like, I don't even want to see you, Dad, like try to get past me into the school. And then the next year I think I got a little bit of a wave, and and then this year she got off the bus walking with a boy. So that was different. And I think that embarrassed her. So then she tried to scoot around and not have me see her. But yes, it's fun. But I mean, everyone says it's the cliche, but like they'll be grown up before, So that's great that you get summers off. Yeah, both of my parents were teachers. My dad was a college professor. My mom was a 9th grade English teacher. So I grew up thinking everybody just had their summers off. And then it took me till probably high school before I started realizing, no, most of the world actually works during the summer. So, okay, final 3.
Tim Shaker. I'm currently splitting time, so I'm 0.6 in Farmington High teaching Spanish, and then 0.4 in Region 10 at Harbor Middle School. So I'm Farmington in the mornings and Harbor in the afternoons, teaching 5th and 6th grade Spanish. And this summer I got married.
Oh,
And
awesome.
moved to Alaska, so it was
Nice.
awesome summer. Yeah, that's the best.
Alaska is one of 2 states I have not visited yet.
It's the other one.
So Hawaii.
Hawaii
So-
also does not suck.
Yeah, we'll get there eventually. When I was doing theater, I actually met my wife because we both were on a national tour of a Broadway show. So during the course of that tour, we played in almost every state in the United States. So we've done a lot of traveling within the states, but getting a bus and truck tour over to Hawaii or up to Alaska doesn't work so well. So we did not make it to those 2 states, but we will eventually. We'll get there. All right.
Hello. I feel like I can't say anyone. I'm Vincent
Yeah.
Crawford. Actually, I know these guys, so I'll talk to these people.
Yeah.
Let's see, I'm at East Hartford Public Schools. I work for our Office of Family and Community Partnerships, so I'm at central office with that. Went back this summer. I didn't do anything. My daughter's 5 months old, so I stayed up all the time.
Experiments in sleep deprivation.
20 minutes here, 20 minutes there, that sort of thing. And then I worked. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Joseph
My
Ferdinand.
name is Joe Grabowski. I'm also a teacher at Lewis Mills High School, Region 10. First year history teacher. So that's my story. Fun fact. I didn't really do anything fun this summer. I took
Oh,
3
come on.
grad classes. That's pretty much it. I got the job, took 3 grad classes. I went to Tennessee for a week.
All right, and I know Tanisha, and I know she's not here, so I guess Chelsea is our other MIA. All right, so what I would like to do next, again, just sort of in the interests of getting to know each other and also kind of tied into starting to bridge into some of the framework for this class, is I'd like to do something called unique and shared. It may be something you've done other places, but let's see, so we have 7 here. Almost just do it as, let's still keep it as 2 groups. So we'll split 4 and 3. But the idea is this, the challenge is this, and if you want to, if somebody in your group has a piece of paper or something you want to jot on, that's fine, is unique and shared is the first thing is to go around your group and to try to find something for each person that is completely unique about that person. It could be something about your experience, it could be something about what you do, it could be whatever. I mean, stay away from the obvious things like, well, I'm the only person that is wearing glasses right now, you know. So look for things that are more personal than that. And then the flip side of it, once you've kind of figured out, so you have to present something and then say, well, has anybody else, you know, fill in blanks? Anyone else been to Czechoslovakia or something? So once you found something for everybody, then the second part of it is the shared, and that is to find something in your group that everybody in the group shares in common. And again, try to stay away from the obvious things like, I'm a teacher, because that probably fits just about everybody here. You know, so look for something maybe a little off the beaten track that everybody in the group shares as a common theme. And then we'll share out what each group came up with. And then we're going to do a round 2, which is going to be slightly different, which I'll explain once we get there. So we're not going to take a ton of time with this, but how do you want to divide up? We could go the 3 in the back and the 4 up front. We could go to the 3 on this side, the 4 on that side, or I could count you off.
Yeah, we'll just
1, 2,
yeah.
1, 2, 1. All right. Yeah, so we'll keep it easy just so we don't have to move chairs around. So don't speed through it, but obviously I don't want to spend an hour doing this. So something unique about each person in your group, and then something, or maybe you'll find more than one thing that is shared across all the people in your group. Some experience that's shared, something along those lines.
That might even be better than that, because that's when everything is
Because
going bad.
Yeah. I know it comes back to.
So this is actually the first year that I did learn during this. We got in like 5 years. So since under, yeah. Moved states. Since graduated undergrad 2015. After that, so a year in Colorado, undergrad. I finished undergrad, and then after I graduated undergrad, I did my dad in California, then Oregon.
Either way,
maybe that could be shared.
And then
I'll text you.
2017, my first year teaching, I got a job just outside of Boston. And then I started moving for 5 years.
Right? It's like, it's always.
I can sit down.
I think that's the way. Yeah, maybe. It could literally be anything except those 2 things. Wait, what?
Oh. Hello.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Are you?
In the class?
Yes, Chelsea.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, welcome. We're kind of just getting started. I sort of introduced myself and things like that. What we're doing right now is just a little sort of icebreaker thing. So maybe if you want to get with the group of 3 in the back there. This is Chelsea. If anyone doesn't. Chesley.
Yeah.
Sweet, I got to keep mine. Did you sell furniture? Did you ever have 50 pairs of shoes? Okay, we're good. Freaking you out at the moment. These are some weirdly intense questions.
Something unique about yourself, and then something that we all share besides the fact that we love
Unique.
What job that is?
so you've been in the country.
Wah, wah, wah.
I do.
I'm like, wait, where were you overseas? Korea? You were Korea? That's unique. There you go. That's unique. There you go. That's unique.
Two favorite seasons.
Yeah, that's the tough part.
Is it thinking of
Really? I'm not seeing the brain, my brain.
Are you like
Are we getting close with round 1?
Yeah,
Almost?
Can't find similarities for
Oh, there's got to be something.
Wait.
How many siblings do you have? There's 4 in total?
I got so excited. You guys, that's cheating.
If we gave a teacher, we definitely can't do it.
Born
Have you always lived in Canada?
I had a solar car too.
I know.
That's not a top part.
Yeah.
This summer, yeah.
Does your car have 4 tires?
Last I checked, it did, but who knows? Somebody may have taken one of them by now.
What's your favorite?
I'm like super concerned that I would have to take it when I go out there.
Oh, because
With the parking is different. I never got to park in that one.
I've been to Yellowstone, but I was just really, I literally drove in tonight. I did one on hike in the morning and
I parked right on
on my
my
way through. So I just got back going to honeymoon.
No, probably not.
Really cool.
Oh, that's good. Here it's
And Rocky Mountain National Park.
No, there's like yellow flag.
There is the lot that's just across the road here is half faculty and half student, I think.
So what's gonna happen?
Oh.
What's gonna happen
Yeah.
is my car gonna be like, somewhere else.
My guess is this early in the semester they're not going to be towing anybody yet because everyone's still getting a handle on the new procedures. I just put the sticker in my truck today.
I didn't even get a
So-
sticker yet.
Yeah. that's
Yeah.
I read that they only got a check from 5 to 5.
Yeah, and that's the other
After
thing.
five,
I
it's all
think
the same.
evenings are they're not going to be as
Doesn't matter.
strict
You can
about.
park wherever you want.
Yeah. All right, are we ready?
Not yet.
Wait,
Not
no,
yet?
no, wait,
Close.
we're all forgot about parking. Shut up, we're freaking out about parking.
Okay, now we're ready.
Yes.
All right. So just really quickly, just maybe one person from each group can kind of just present what you came up with, and then I'm just going to change one parameter of this, and we'll do one more round of this. So why don't you guys go first, since you're right up front here.
So, Joe. Okay, Joe is on the Board of Ed in Bristol. I had hip surgery this summer. JD went to pizza making school in Naples. And this is Tim's first year not moving states in 5 years. Wow.
Wow.
And then we have all been to national parks.
Oh, okay. Nice. All right. What did we come up with back there?
It's actually really nice.
That was a nice pop out right there. That was artfully done.
Vincent sold furniture. I used to own over 50 pairs of shoes. Nick was a Marine, and Chesley has been to Korea. And then we were all freaking out about parking.
Okay. Yes, heard that discussion going on. All right. So, then what I want to do is just do another round of this. But since this is a class in educational technology, sort of bring a technology focus to it. Because one of the things that I want to develop throughout this class is one of our main focuses is going to be what's called a PLN, or a personalized learning network. And those PLNs, a lot of times people sort of focus on the use of technology to develop a PLN, but we have a little PLN right here within this. And that, my guess is that across there's 10 of us total in the class, that we have all sorts of varying experiences and expertise and areas not of expertise related to technology and related to educational technology. And part of what we're going to be doing is using each other throughout the class to help grow ourselves by using what other people know and making that a part of what we know. So we're going to do one more unique and shared, but this time the unique thing and the shared thing should relate to, at the very least, technology, but hopefully educational technology of some sort. So it could be platforms that you're familiar with or know really well, or a particular skill that you've developed related to educational technology, or it could be on the minus side. It could be I know absolutely nothing. I don't even know how to turn a laptop on or something like that. So see what you can find unique. I do want the unique thing hopefully to be a positive thing, something that maybe you could help bring to the table with the rest of the class that is an experience you've had that you could share with others. So see what you can come up with. This might be a little trickier because I've obviously narrowed down the scope quite a bit, but see what you can come up with now. Something related to educational technology. Woohoo!
I think I have.
Yeah.
That's good.
In like high school, most people don't do this. When I give feedback on writing, I don't type it. I speak it into the mic and leave a little recording.
Oh, that's cool.
I don't remember what it's called.
You're gonna get like recorded feedback.
So I've been attempting to do it. And I'm like really close to it.
I taught an entire class last year. Class from the
How was that?
Yeah, it did not stop. Like, once you
I
get
like that phrase. I'm gonna take that out.
once you get everything like set up, it's really easy. Like the setup, like the preload work is really hard. You gotta like dedicate
out there, and I broke my head to grab out these things. Almost.
But once you build the whole class, we did it.
That's really good.
What is that?
Because we had access to that all the time. So the kids were trying. I don't use it. It was my honor class. The only way I would come in and take laptop, you would log in, and we bring up the work, and there'd be like video for it, so like an article or whatever. If you do some research, something, use it for something, and then generate a product at the end. Because there's, that was fun. So you can whatever, video,
Kids will like actually watch my
That was my specialty.
It's good for, especially when they're younger, because they can't write really complex thoughts yet. They can just speak it. And you can have them do things with their families.
No, because
Oh,
Well, I'm not using it currently, but technically.
Okay.
you can do, so right now, since I'm actually in school, restoration center, windows, apartments, and stuff, unless you guys are both somehow or something.
That's terrible.
What would you use for two different, like,
Well, the three of us came from a class together, previously.
Platform.
Barrett, Barnett, whatever it is. No, there, that one.
Does everyone use
We,
Google
all three
Classroom?
of us came across it, we were walking across, and I'm like, never been across.
Everybody.
No idea what it is. It's not, thanks, why you raised your team. Oh, yeah, I know.
Really,
I
used Google Classroom before, but I've really gotten like one.
Yeah, I was like, on version mine, and I was like,
I just haven't flipped it.
All right, how are we doing?
we're trying to find a shared.
Okay. How are you guys doing in the back there?
We're good.
You're good?
Great.
Okay. No pressure.
We won.
But we're all waiting.
Everybody has a smart board?
Yeah, I have a projector. You guys have one? Yeah. You guys have one? Projector.
I'm like a smart board.
Okay, okay.
All right, you're set?
Yeah.
Okay. So why don't we start with the group in the back. So what do we have back there for unique expertises, et cetera,
Well,
experiences?
Vincent's expertise is setting up parent accounts and getting students out of their lockouts.
Ah,
Nick taught an entire class on Google Classroom.
okay.
Chesley is learning how to code. And I am the point person for Power School in my school.
So you're the one that gets to do all of the accounts and the setups and the.
And I taught myself. And that's
Oh,
why I'm the
nice.
point person.
Wow, that's impressive.
And
Oh.
then our shared is that we have all created PowerPoint presentations for something.
Okay. All right. And who has it? All right. And up here in the front.
All right, so Joe is moving towards an almost paperless classroom for his class. I can't live without my document camera. I don't know if that really counts, but I love it. JD has used recorded feedback for his students instead of like writing stuff down. And then Tim is using two different educational platforms between the two districts that he works in. And for our shared is that we all have used projectable technology.
Okay. Yeah. Yep. All right. So what's interesting to hear is that a number of the topics that we're going to be talking about in this class, we already have people in here who have some experience on those and some of those areas and so on. So that is going to be, you know, if we're covering a topic and you've already got a pretty good handle on it, don't be afraid to speak out, to share your experiences, to point things out. I've had a pretty wide background in a lot of different things, but I will say up front, I don't know everything. And you can't with technology because it's changing so incredibly fast. So, you know, feel free to feel like the expert on things if it's something that you're familiar with. You know, for those of you that have been doing the Google Classroom and presenting classes like that, we're going to be using Moodle in this class, but there's going to be a lot of similarity there in terms of how you structure an online class and how you break the content up and how you produce the content that goes in there. you know, and various things like document cameras or using recorded feedback or even coding now. Coding has become huge. A lot of coding is finding its way into a lot of different disciplines, not just in computer sciences. In fact, we have one of our elementary school music teachers got a grant this year. Their school has these little, I forget what they're called, some sort of a bot thing. It's apparently like a sphere with 2 other spheres on it or something. So they've got them, and she went to a thing this summer where they learned how to program them so they could like play xylophone instruments, but it's all through coding. So she got a grant to do this program before school with her students, where they come in and they're going to be coding, but they're going to be coding robots to play music. So so anything like that. So feel free to share, feel free to speak up, feel free to be the expert if it's something that you know something about. On the other side of the spectrum, you know, as you've heard now, we've got a lot of people in this room that probably know things that you don't have a lot of background in. And feel free to speak up as well if there's something you want to know more about. I've got a survey that we're either going to do in class tonight or sometime over the next week. And one of the things I'm going to be asking is, you know, is there something specific you would like to get out of this class, even if it's not something that's explicitly in the syllabus, that we can maybe work in so that you can fill in some of those gaps. You know, one of the thing about being where we all are right now is that we probably all have a pretty good handle at this point on what we know, but also what we don't know and wish we knew more about. You know, we're professional educators, so we know about the educational process and hopefully are all maintaining those growth mindsets that that are keeping us growing as well. All right, so we know a little bit about each other now, which is awesome. I'd like to next sort of talk about just the structure of the class and the syllabus and all of that kind of stuff that we go over, a little bit of my philosophy, which is built into the syllabus and the structure of the class. And to do that, this is probably also a good moment. How many of you have already logged into the Moodle for this class? I saw a handful of people had already gotten signed up. Okay, so why don't we take a moment right now, because throughout this course, we're going to be using these workstations every class. So take a moment, make sure you can get logged in. It should be whatever your university account login information is. Username and password. It should not be, your username should be without the @myccsu, should be whatever comes before the in your CCSU email address. And hopefully you all know your passwords. Unfortunately, there's not much I can do to help you if you don't, with your password at least. And then I'll sort of direct us, for those of you that haven't gotten to the Moodle yet, we'll get there. So is that moment of, yes, I got in. I remembered my password. I don't know if this was true for students too, but they expired the passwords, and but they forgot to send out the email telling everyone that the passwords were expiring. So a whole lot of people suddenly logged on and were told that their passwords had expired. It's always, technology is always fun. So once you have gotten logged in, I think Chrome is probably the most solid browser to use, and the website is moodle.ccsu.edu. Moodle is spelled M-O-O-D-L-E. Moodle.ccsu.edu. That will bring you up to the landing page for the university's Moodle, and then from there, you're going to want to go into the subcategory of Fall 2019 Educational Technology. And then within that, you will see the EDT540 class. At some point along the way, unless you've already done this, you are going to be asked to log in or to create a login. Just use your university credentials to create that login. And then that will allow you to get into the class and enroll. Having a password issue?
This is what I use for my email.
Yeah, it should be. can't get in, it's not the end of the world for the night. You can,
Because I did it to me.
it should be the same then. Anyone else having any issues getting logged in? Yeah, like I said, for tonight, it's not going to be that big a deal. It's going to require a password reset or something. But give it one more shot. Yeah, restarting is a good plan. So once you get into the class, this is the portal through which all the materials for the class are going to be provided. There is not a text, there's not a specific text or book for this class. So anything that we need in terms of readings or resources will be posted through the Moodle. I generally make 1 week at a time available, just so that we kind of all stay in the same place, because I know there are people who, if there's 4 weeks available, they'll run ahead to the 4th week. And I don't really have a problem with that, except that sometimes things change, and by the time we get to that 4th week, we might have some alterations. So just to kind of keep us all together and keep everything in one place. So a couple of things to note right there on the landing page for the class. I have an email link for me right there. You should have received an email from me a couple days ago, just the introduction. So you've also got my email there. But if you forget what it is or anything like that, just feel free to come in here and just click on that, and it will create an email to me. And the next thing is, I put it in 2 places, but right there at the top of the page is the syllabus. So if you're on, you can go ahead and click on that. If you're not, you can look up here on the board too, because I've got it up here. Or if you would rather just look up here. So a lot of this I don't need to read. You all know how to read. There's my email address. Because I really only am teaching this class this semester on campus, I don't have any official office hours of any sort. But if you need to meet with me, if you've got concerns and you want to meet face-to-face, just get in contact with me. I live only about a half an hour away, so it's not that big a deal for me to get onto campus if I need to, and I'm certainly willing to do that. Or if you want to meet ahead of class or want me to stay after class as well, I can do that. The Moodle, there's the information about the Moodle. This is a little meta because you're already on the Moodle and it's telling you how to get onto the Moodle. But there's the information there. Course materials I already sort of talked about. So description and philosophy. So this class is really going to be looking at 2 main streams of things related to educational technology. And in my mind, I think of them as integration and implementation. So on the integration side, for me, technology integration is the creation of the materials using technology to create or deliver the materials. So things like even something as simple as creating a handout for your class, or creating a video, or putting things on a Moodle or on a Google Classroom or on a Microsoft Teams page. So the integration side of things is going to be kind of the more practical, hands-on. We're going to actually create this, create that. And the biggest focus of a lot of that is going to be simply on making those things as educationally effective as possible. So a lot of it boils down to learning about common pitfalls, learning about ways to avoid those pitfalls, learning some tips and tricks along the way, particularly with some of the media production of common mistakes that people make, and things that you can do to avoid those that don't necessarily require a lot of money or anything like that, but things like that. So a lot of what we're going to be doing is going to be on that side of things, on just creation of content using technology. The other side is the implementation side. And this is a side that we're kind of introducing into this course. It's relatively new, and it's something that Dr. Abed and I have sort of identified through conversations and talking to people. And I'm sure probably all of you have some story related to this from your own experiences of school A gets new technology because it's the new technology and they think it's going to solve their problems. And they throw this technology into the classrooms, and then they wonder why things don't get better. The integration side of things is the planning to make sure that technology does what it's supposed to do once it's in the classroom. A lot of school districts now are developing technology implementation plans, just like they have plans for teacher development and they have plans for curriculum. They are now developing technology implementation plans. Sometimes these are very large things. Like our district in the last couple of years has gone to a one-to-one initiative, at least at the high school, and they're working it down to the lower grades now. So they had an entire technology implementation plan related to that, where it's not just about, hey, let's just put laptops in all of our students' hands, but it's how are we going to support this? How much is it going to cost? What sort of infrastructure do we need in place? What sort of training do we need to give our teachers? What sort of training do we need to give the students to use this? You know, so the other side of this that we're going to interweave as we go is the implementation thing, because that's, I think right now more than anything else, why technology is failing in schools where it does, is because nobody's really thought about the plan for how does this go into the classroom and how do we support it once it's there. You know, just throwing a computer in a classroom doesn't make the students suddenly learn better. So that's going to be the other sort of major focus of this class. So by the end, on the one side, the major project is going to be a Moodle that will cover some sort of a topic that you're going to pick. And that's where we're going to kind of do all the content creation stuff and working on that. And on the other side, in terms of a major project, is going to be a technology implementation plan that you're going to develop. If it's something that you can develop and actually use in your school or in your work setting or wherever you're doing, all the better. A lot of people always ask me, well, I'm doing this thing for my school, can I use that for my project? And my answer is almost always yes, because why duplicate effort? If you can do something in this class that you can actually then use in your actual classroom or at your job, then by all means, please do that, because who wants busy work, right? So, so you will be creating a technology integration plan. You'll be picking some piece of technology that you would like to integrate into a school. And then take a look at that. So, because you guys are in teacher leadership, right? So a big piece of teacher leadership, and especially if you go on to an 092, is that responsibility for developing those integration plans, those implementation plans. So you are expected to be the leaders in your schools, and part of that is having the plan. So that's sort of the philosophy of the class. It is practical, hands-on. You're going to be doing all the stuff that we talk about. I am going to be using particular pieces of software in here, but if you have access to other pieces of software that do essentially the same thing and you would rather work through them, then by all means, feel free to let me know that, well, I don't want to use Audacity because I have this other program that I would rather get to know how to use, then that's great. In terms of my own philosophy, which I didn't really put here, but I may as well throw in here since we're talking philosophy, is for me, as much technology as I've used and as comfortable as I am with technology and as much as I love using technology, for me it all comes back to good educational design, good instructional design. So, you know, we're going to look at something in a little bit, but you know, we all know how fast technology changes, and it's not really any good for me to teach you to become an expert on a particular piece of software, because 5 years from now, 10 years from now, that piece of software, if it even still exists, is going to be so radically different from what it is now that, you know, what was it worth becoming an expert? Whereas if you have the understanding of how a particular technology can be used in a classroom effectively, then it kind of doesn't matter what specific platform you're using. If the instructional design behind it is good, then the individual technology should be successful. I feel like I'm not explaining myself well because it's late on a Thursday night, but basically it's the teach a man to, give a man a fish and feed him for a day, but teach a man to fish and feed him for life. So if I teach you how to use a piece of software and that piece of software doesn't exist 2 years from now, what good was that? Whereas if I teach you how to use a software in a particular way, then you can use those principles across whatever platform you happen to be applying it to. So for me, a lot of this, you're going to see a lot of instructional design built into a lot of this too. Any of these projects we undertake, we're going to start from the instructional design standpoint. What are we trying to achieve? What's our goal? Who's our audience? You know, what are specific things we have to keep in mind? And then from there, we'll build out into the particular technology that we're looking at. All right, so that's just to throw that in there. Course objectives, you can look through these, but it's sort of like what I was going over what I was just saying. Basically, if you like to think about your grades or whatever, 4 activities you're going to engage in that will impact the grades on this. There are going to be, it says weekly, but they're going to be more every other weekly. These are going to be mostly forums in our class Moodle where I will post a question or a challenge or something, and you will each create responses to that and then communicate with each other and provide responses to the responses. So, so that's going to be one piece of things. You're going to be creating a PLN. I mentioned that already, the Personalized Learning Network. We're going to talk actually more about that tonight and actually get that underway. And you're going to be hosting your PLN on a website. Now, I'm suggesting Wix. Some of you maybe have already used Wix in another class, in which case you don't have to start a new Wix site. You can use the existing one. If you already have some kind of a personal website that you can use, feel free to use that too. But if you've never had experience using a website builder, Wix is one of many that A, is free, and B, is mostly sort of drag and drop. You don't have to know HTML or anything like that, a coding language to build a website. You can kind of just tell it what you want to put where and what kind of page you want to create, and then it helps you with the formatting of it. So that's going to be another piece of this. And then there's the instructional unit project, which is going to be the Moodle. More on that. Next week, we'll really get into that in more detail. And then, as I said, the technology implementation plan is going to be the 4th piece of that. So those are kind of our projects. The rest of this, I'm not really going to go into detail. Hopefully, we won't have snow issues, but we might. And we will kind of work with that on a case-by-case basis. We do have the ability to go online with a class if we need to. The university uses WebEx, and I've actually taught complete classes through WebEx. So if that's something we need to do, we'll do that. This is the university's grading policy. Attendance, just let me know if you can't be here. Obviously we had one person tonight who was being hired, and he let me know, and that's fine. I do record every class if I remember to push the record button. So if I forget, somebody tell me, did you push the record button? So I just do a screen capture recording with audio of every class, and then I post it. So if you do miss a class, within a couple of days, you should be able to go to the Moodle and just watch the videos. So you'll at least be able to hear what we did in class and get caught up and so on. So there's that. Expectations, yeah. Courtesies, yeah. Late pass, this is something that's left in here from the previous, the professor I took over for. It was one of his standing policies, so I just kept it. But if anything, this says can be used for a 1-week extension on any single assignment. I'm actually a bit more forgiving even than that. Even in my high school classes, getting things in on the exact date. I know you're all busy. I know you all have real lives outside of this. So things get in the way. Just let me know if something's not going to be in on time. Maybe let me know what your plan is for getting it in, and I'll be fine with that. I'm actually pretty easy when it comes to that. Then here is our calendar, and I do want to just point out a couple of things. The homework column, there's a big asterisk at the top, and it says at the bottom, take this with a bit of a grain of salt because things may change as we get through the course. I don't know how things are going to run specifically, so there may be changes to this. Always go off of the Moodle. The last thing on every week's Moodle post is going to be the homework for the following week. That will have the most specific information and detailed information about what you should be working on for the following week. So this is kind of a good overview to give you a sense of where we're headed, but I reserve the right to change any of this at any time because I get to do that because I'm the teacher. So that's this side. And you'll see that, for instance, those PLN posts are roughly every other week. And then on the opposite weeks from those is a forum posting in our Moodle. So I'm trying not to double up on work like that. So we're kind of going to alternate between those two things. And then the other piece of it is that I've sort of spread out the technology implementation plan. We're going to do that in stages, so I've kind of broken that up. But the actual full plan won't be turned in until the end. And then the Moodle, which is the other thing we're working on, likewise, kind of every other week or every third week, there will be a component of that. So I'm trying not to pile on a lot of work in any given week. I've tried to sort of lock it all together so that on a given week, there's really one or two major things that are happening in terms of homework. In terms of the topics, integration and implementation, so I am trying to break it down so that each week we're doing a little bit in each of those areas. So the integration side of things, you'll see that's all of the creating stuff. So we're going to spend a couple of weeks talking about graphic design, a couple of weeks talking about video, a couple of weeks talking about audio, talking about web apps, talking about assessment, kind of all of the things that you might want to generate in a technology or in a class that's using technology to deliver it. And all of those things will be then being integrated into your Moodle. So, you know, you're teaching, you've decided to do your Moodle on Beethoven. And so when you're doing your video, you'll probably be creating a video that supports something about Beethoven. You know, so it's all going to link together in that way. The main thing I want to point out is that there are 3 weeks that we will not meet here on campus that I know of at the moment. And a lot of this is because of my own district needs. We have, and actually this is going to affect at least you for the most part, because this week is our open house on a Thursday night. And there's a week later on that is parent-teacher conferences. So there were a couple of Thursdays. It worked out pretty well. But there are those 2 weeks I'm not available on campus. So what will happen those weeks, I say class online. We're not going to do a synchronous class online. We're not going to be doing video conferencing. But what I will do in each of those weeks is open up the Moodle for that week. Probably I won't wait till Thursday. I'll probably open it up Wednesday or Tuesday of that week. And it'll have all of the information you need to do whatever work we're doing that week. And I tried to also work that in so that the things that we're working on those weeks are more, you're just working on project kinds of things. So you can make note of that the September 19th, November 7th, and then the other one occurs, and this also worked out pretty well. Thanksgiving is insanely late this year. It's on the 28th, and I was looking at the CCSU calendar. There's only 1 week of classes between Thanksgiving and finals, which just seems incredibly short. But, so we don't have class on Thanksgiving, obviously. The final 2 weeks, this is normal class, and this week technically is the week of final exams. There is not a final exam for this class, but there is a concert on this night that I have to be at. So what I'm doing is just bumping out our last class into that final exam week. That will give you, at this point, you guys are going to be finishing up projects. So that actually gives you, after our Moodle beta testing, gives you 2 whole weeks just to be finishing up materials and finishing things up and getting them done for our final class meeting on the 12th. That thing is really sensitive. So just be aware of that as well. So that's, you know, not only no class, but really in terms of work, there's not going to be anything new that week. It's going to be finish up your projects. So that's the other weird one. Other than that, we're pretty much straight through every Thursday. I was going to ask, but I think I know the answer to this already because several of you were in a class right before this. I know this class is kind of late on a Thursday night, on a school night. And I do usually give the option, if people want to, of adjusting the time of the class. But my sense is because at least 3 of you are coming right from another class, we probably can't do that. That's correct, yes? Okay. So it's all fine. This is when the class is supposed to meet. We all knew it was going to be this when we signed on. But so that's just that. totally fine. So, so yeah, that's that. And then the remainder of the syllabus, I put in the ISTE standards, which is the International Society of Technology Education. I think that's what it stands for. These are just like we all have content standards in our own areas. These are actually the content standards for technology education. So I threw these in here for your information. They post them, interestingly enough, both for student and for teacher, which I find kind of nice. So not only what the students should be able to do with technology, but what teachers should be able to do with technology. So you can take a look over those if you wish. And then I've got the 4 scoring rubrics for the 4 main projects at the end. And obviously we'll get into more detail on those as we get to each of those projects. So any questions so far? Dr. Sponder was famous for saying, I need 3 questions. I'm not going to go on until I get 3 questions. And then he would sit there and wait for like 10 minutes until somebody would say like, what color's the sky? Like anything. He just wanted people to ask questions. I'm not going to do that. But if you have any questions at any point, please tell me to stop. All right. Do you guys want to take just a quick break? I know we probably can get out of here a little early tonight, even if we take a little break. I don't know if, or people want to just push on through. It's totally up to you guys. I can do either thing. Push on through. All right, break on through to the other side. All right, so what's up next? Oh, right, okay. So we're all already in Moodle. There are going to be a few website resources that we are going to use during this course. One of them, the first one I want to deal with is Remind. Is anybody not familiar with Remind in here? You're not? Okay. Remind is, it's basically a free texting program is what it is. It's great for teachers and groups because you can set up a Remind list. People can self-subscribe to the lists. And then you can go on through a computer or through your phone or whatever, and you can like send a text out to everybody in the Remind group. We actually, our school now, every student in our high school is on Remind. They've got a group that, so if the administration needs to send out a quick reminder to all the student body, they can go boom. And because students don't read emails anymore, but they're looking at their phones and reading their texts all the time.
I have a question. Can
Yeah.
they text you back?
They can text the group back. And that's the other nice thing is that it sort of anonymizes. So they're not going to get your phone's text. It all goes through the Remind system. So it gives a teacher a lot more control over privacy and so on. They can text just you.
Yeah.
So it can be a one-on-one communication, or people can also text the whole group. Like I've used it when we've gone on field trips and I've got 10 people that are my chaperonees, and I'll set up a quick Remind group for them, and then I'll say, okay, everybody at 12 o'clock, text me a selfie of you wherever you are so that I know you're safe, sort of a thing. So I like to use it in here sort of for the same reason. Honestly, the time where it would be the most useful is if we do cancel class, or if something comes up at the last minute and I've got to start a class late or somebody's running late or whatever. So right here on the Moodle, there is Remind sign up. And what it's going to ask you for is your first and last name, your phone number, or email. So if you don't have a phone that can get texts, you can still do this via email, and it will send you an email. If you're not on, oh, you got in.
Yeah.
Awesome. It just worked.
It just, yeah, well, I added the at .ccs.
Oh, interesting. Okay, well, awesome. So if you go to the link and you put this in, then it will sign you up. The other thing you can do, this code right here, which I know is a little hard to see, but it's at F4HCF2D. You can also use that code to log in if if you don't have access to this page. But if you can follow my link and get to here, you just put in your name and your phone number and hit sign up, and then you're in. And then that just means, like I said, I'm not going to spam you with a ton of texts, but this is probably the fastest way for last minute things. You know, if we do have a snow cancellation, I can quickly let you know whether we're going to meet online or not. Or if, you know, for some reason I get held up on a night and I'm going to be late or anything like that. So we'll take care of that. And I'm getting all sorts of. Where's my Remind app? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Anyone having any issues accessing Remind? Remind they made some changes this year. They've always been completely free. Starting this year, they have started charging, but they'll still let you create, I think you can create up to 10 lists that each have no more than 150 people for free. But if you need to go over that, then you have to start paying for it. But for things like this, it's great. And if you aren't familiar with it, it is actually a tool you can use in your classroom as well, or if you run a club or activities or things like that, because it is true, our students for the most part are much more tuned into their texting than they are to their emailing. And we found that certainly to be true at our school. We were sending things out and students were never reading their emails, but the minute we send them a text, even though they're not supposed to have their phones in class, they all already knew what was going on by the end of class because they all have their phones in class. So, all right, so we're good there. Anyone still in the process of? Oh, the class code is. Oh, let me go back a page. I forget. It's at F4HCF2D. And it should be D. Miller's EDT540 Fall 2019.
Thank you.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. So that was one little housekeeping thing. Another thing that we are going to be using, and we don't need to take the time to do the full sign up for this now because we're not going to really get into it tonight, but we use Moodle here at the university. And in the past, when I've done classes like this, I've had the university set up Moodles for each of the students to use. And that works great because the university owns Moodle. They own their copy of Moodle and it gives you access to all that. What I was unaware of until last year that I discovered is Moodle actually has a free service that is completely online that doesn't require you to install any software. Again, it's limited. I think you can have up to 50 users before you have to start paying for it. And it's called Moodle Cloud. And it basically has almost all of the functionality of the full version of Moodle, but it's free and you can use it. I mean, you could right now set up a Moodle for your own class if you wanted to and then use it because it's not linked to the university. For the university, you have to be a university student to get in and all of that. So at some point, and again, we don't have to do this tonight, but also here is under Moodle Cloud is the link to the Moodle Cloud website. Oh, sorry, it's a page. And what I will want you to do over the next week at some point is to sign up here on Moodle Cloud, because that's going to be where you create your online class, your 5-unit or 5-lesson unit, where we're going to be putting all of our videos and audios and graphics and everything that we're going to be doing. So we could have used the full CCSU Moodle. I just wanted to give this a shot because this is something that you could continue to use even long after you're a student here at the university and it's not connected to the university. And like I said, it is free for up to 50 users. So at some point over the course of this next week, that would be another thing to sign up for. Another thing, which again, you do not need to do right this second. So I'm just kind of running through these things and then you can sign up for them on your own, is for our PLNs, we're going to be using a website to host your PLN. And as I said, I'm suggesting Wix. If you have not had experience building a website, there are a bunch of places out there you can go. Wix is just one of them. And that will give you a place then to start posting what we're going to be posting in terms of content for the PLNs. If you already have a website, I know a lot of people from other classes in your program here, you might already have a Wix website, or you might have one of the other company's websites, something you've set up for use in another class. If it's okay with the teacher in that class, or that class is one you're not in anymore, feel free to keep using that website. Just add a new page to it that is going to be where you put your PLN information. So I'm not going to be assessing you on using Wix. I'm going to assess you on using a website to produce your PLN, but in terms of what that specific platform is, I can kind of leave that up to you. So just like with the Moodle, at some point this week, the Wix.com homepage is there on our Moodle. Sign up for an account, get a web page started, and I'll have some more specifics about what you'll post to that page over this next week. For both of these, I've also given you links to the full documentation pages. So if you want to start poking around, some people like to just get into something and just start trying things out. Other people like to read through the documentation first and kind of get a sense of what something does. But in both of these cases, I've given you the support and documentation pages for both of these websites. All right, we good so far? I feel like I'm going a mile a minute tonight, so if I'm going too fast, just tell me to put the brakes on. The only other site I'm going to mention at this point, which I don't even have the link up for yet, is WebEx. And I'll probably go ahead and set it up so that it's there in case we need to use it. I don't really anticipate needing to use it, but if for some reason we have a snow day and I feel like I still want to meet with you, WebEx is basically online teleconferencing, video conferencing software. And it can run pretty much off of any computer as long as the computer has a microphone. You don't even really need a webcam for it because usually I don't have the students' video in. I just have students' audio in. What I will do is this graphic at the top of the website will be the link to WebEx. It isn't yet. I haven't set that up yet for this class, but I will make that the link. So if there is a week where I feel like we need to meet online for some reason, I will direct you to go here, click on that, and then it will launch WebEx, and we will have our class from there. All right, so that's just one other thing. You don't have to have a CCSU account or anything for that. All it's going to do, because I'm the one setting up the classroom, it'll just ask for your name. That may even be it. I don't even know that it asks for an email address of any sort. So just when you enter the class, it's just going to ask for your name, and that's really all you need to get into there. So you don't even need an account for that. All right. So I think what I would like to do next is one more sort of getting the class started thing, and then I'm going to talk about PLNs a bit, because that's going to then lead into our homework for the next week. So here under class materials and resources, oh, by the way, these two things are just sort of for your own interest if you want to. You've probably seen things like this. They both sort of reinforce how quickly technology has changed. I picked the year 2000 because I started teaching at Lewis Mills in the fall of 1999. So for me, it's interesting to go back and I sort of forget, what tools did I not have available to me in 1999 when I started? And the list is kind of staggering in terms of things that we take for granted today. I mean, the iPhone wasn't until, does anyone know what year? 2007 was the iPhone. Even the iPod came out in, I think, 2000 or 2001. So we didn't even have the iPod yet. Facebook was 2004, I think, 4 or 5. Gmail came out in the mid 2000s. So for me, it's a good way to look back, and again, it ties into my philosophy of the technology itself changes so quickly that I'd rather know the good strategies for constructing and using the technology as opposed to training myself in one specific technology, because this year's freshmen, by the time they graduate, we don't even really have a good sense of what technology they're going to have available in just 4 years. My daughter, who's in 8th grade, is already asking me, well, will I have a self-driving car when I start to learn to drive? And I have to kind of start saying to her, well, maybe, because they're already out there on the roads, So if you want to, you can take a look at either one of those. One of them is written as sort of like a little time travel. Let's go back to the year 2000 and see what our day would be like. And the other one is more of just kind of a listing sort of by year of what the major technologies were that came out year by year in the decade of the 2000s. So those are more just there for interest. But underneath them is a quick Google Forms survey that I want to use just to gather a little information about you. I know you went through, and I was taking some notes here about like what you do and where you are in the program and what your interests are. But this way I'll have something that I can look at. And like I said, in particular, I think one of the last couple of questions is going to be something along the lines of, now that we've kind of gone through what the class is covering or designed to cover, is there something specifically that you want to get out of this class that maybe is not necessarily in the curriculum already? Is there something that I can help you develop or help you become better at that we can do? Because we're a small enough class that I'm certainly willing and have the ability to customize things like that to your particular needs. So let's just take a little bit to complete that survey so that we know it's done. And then maybe this is also a good time, if you get done with the survey and need to take a quick break or just get up and stretch your legs a little bit, feel free to do so. And then when it looks like kind of everybody is done and back, we'll continue on.